What did you do with the sledgehammer after you hit her with it?
I just laid it in the laundry room.
Why did you hit her about 12 times with it? Why so many times?
To make sure she was dead.
As she gasped for air and began experiencing seizures, her son continued to strike her head with the sledgehammer. After he was sure he had murdered his mother, Zach next attempted to set his home on fire. But to this day, much about the story of Zachary Davis and his murder of his mother Melanie remains shrouded in dark mystery. Let's delve into the intricacies of this story and unravel its mysteries, all while uncovering the true motives behind it. In a small town nestled in Bowling Green, Kentucky, darkness seeped from every corner, casting an ominous shadow over the once serene life of Zachary Everett Davis. Born on July 29, 1997, Zachary bore witness to the devastating loss of his beloved father, plunging his life into an abyss of sorrow. Melanie Davis, his loving mother, and his older brother Josh found themselves engulfed in feelings of isolation and helplessness in the wake of this tragedy. With the disappearance of his father in 2007, the family's once peaceful existence shattered, as if a door had swung open to darkness and nightmares. Feelings of abandonment and isolation consumed Zachary's mind, pulling him deeper into a realm of loneliness and pain. Thick darkness inundated every nook of their home, obscuring memories of happiness and regret, leaving behind a murky recollection and a sense of despair within Zachary. As they resettled in Hendersonville, Tennessee, the new surroundings failed to erase the pain stemming from memories of their departed father. Melanie, a resilient single mother, bore the burden of providing for the family, while Zachary and Josh grappled with unwelcome changes in their lives. After his father's death, Zachary became even more withdrawn. Perhaps due to this loss, he began displaying concerning behaviors, causing his mother, Melanie, to worry. Melanie decided to have Zachary undergo psychiatric treatment when he was only 11 years old. Zachary Davis confirmed that he heard voices and was diagnosed with schizophrenia and depressive disorder. Despite being typically reserved, he withdrew further into himself. During one of his 4 sessions with Dr. Freeman, Zachary Davis recounted hearing his father's voice. Psychologists recognize that experiencing deep depression following the loss of a loved one, especially at a young age, is normal. Although Davis went through the first 2 stages commonly associated with bereavement, including numbness and depression, he couldn't progress through the 3rd stage, recovery. Part of this difficulty may be attributed to Melanie ceasing Zachary's treatment shortly after it began. Melanie worked hard as a paralegal and trained hard as a triathlete. She did her best to get past Chris's death and to keep her boys happy. Unbeknownst to her, her youngest son, Zachary Davis, was beyond her grasp. The 15-year-old was an outcast amongst his peers. He often spoke in a monotonous whisper and would wear the same hoodie every day. He had an app on his phone about serial killers and another that listed torture devices. His notebooks were writhed with such disturbing anecdotes as, "You can't spell slaughter without laughter." He read the Stephen King novel Misery and played violent video games. In the quietness of the new house, Zachary grew increasingly cold and isolated. The shadow of sadness gradually became a part of his soul, turning his emotions into a bloody gray, his voice subdued, devoid of any vividness. But seemingly within the serene coldness of Zachary's mind, a darkness lurked, waiting to erupt into an uncontrollable nightmare. On the evening of August 10, 2012, Zachary, 15 years old, along with his 45-year-old mother and 17-year-old brother, went to see a movie together. When they returned home, as everyone drifted into sleep, Zachary began preparing for his plan. With trembling hands, he packed a number of items into a backpack and a satchel, including notebooks, gloves, a claw hammer, a ski mask, a cigarette lighter, and earplugs. Zachary's mother and brother went to bed around 9 p.m. Around 11 p.m., under the quiet darkness of the night, Zachary retrieved a hammer from the garage. He silently entered his mother's bedroom and, without uttering a word, struck her with the hammer 8 to 15 times. After the assault, Melanie emitted gurgling noises. Zachary placed a pillow over her head because he was concerned that his brother might wake up upon hearing the noise. His eyes gleamed in the darkness as Zachary, sinking deep into the abyss of his mind, relentlessly attacked his mother, delivering painful and horrifying blows. And as fresh blood splattered, Zachary's life embarked on a terrifying journey, unaware of what awaited ahead in the thick darkness of the night. Following his mother's death, Zachary locked her bedroom door and proceeded upstairs to another room in the house, which he referred to as the game room. Using a mixture of whiskey and gasoline to ignite the fire, Zach expressed his hope that his brother Josh would be burned alive inside the house, along with their mother's body. He set the game room on fire and left the house. Josh abruptly woke up to the urgent sound of the fire alarm echoing through the house. In a panic, he leaped out of bed and rushed to his mother's bedroom, his heart pounding in the air thick with fear. With a powerful kick, he attempted to open the door but failed as it was locked. Despite the anxiety, he pushed hard against the door and was met with a horrifying sight. His mother lying motionless on the bed, fresh blood flowing from a wound. With a mind in turmoil and unsure of what to do, Josh immediately fled the house, seeking refuge at a nearby neighbor's home. Meanwhile, Zachary, with his enigmatic and malevolent nature, silently slipped into the darkness, his intricate plan still concealed within the depths of his sinister mind. Zachary proceeded to a store and purchased 2 cans of Diet Pepsi and a street map of Tennessee. At around 2:30 a.m. on August 11th, the police found Zachary about half an hour later, walking alone about 5 miles from his house. Upon being arrested, he remained calm, but during questioning, he reveals chilling details that left the police astonished. Zachary confessed to killing his mother and burning down their home. Remarkably, he recounted the sinister plan he had devised, waiting for his mother and brother to fall asleep to carry out his bloody act. He even hoped that the fire would engulf them both. When asked by the police if he loved his mother, he responded with, "Somewhat." Zachary was charged with serious offenses, and ultimately he petitioned for a forensic evaluation, leaving everyone curious about what would be uncovered. In September 2012, following an assessment of his competency to stand trial, Zachary Davis was convicted on all charges in Tennessee in April 2015. The mandatory punishment for first-degree murder is 60 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 51 years. Additionally, he received an additional 20 years for 2 other charges to be served consecutively. This means he will have to spend at least 71 years behind bars. During the investigation, several notable factors emerged. Zachary offered various motives for his actions, ranging from claiming that his deceased father's voice commanded him to kill his mother, to accusing his brother of committing heinous acts against him. However, there was no evidence to support these allegations. While Zachary once admitted to protect his brother, there is no doubt that he was the perpetrator and acted alone. His change of story on the witness stand was surprising, even to his defense attorney. Discoveries about Zachary's mental state during competency evaluations raised many questions. Although there was no consensus on his clinical condition, some experts noted symptoms of psychosis, including auditory hallucinations and delusional beliefs. However, Zachary was still deemed competent to stand trial as he understood the difference between right and wrong. At the age of 17, Zachary was convicted of first-degree murder, and 2 months before his trial in April, he sat down with TV personality Dr. Phil. In the interview, Zachary described the moment he murdered his mom, saying he decided to do it because she wasn't taking care of his family. The 17-year-old spoke in an emotionless voice as he described hearing the hammer hitting her head and making a wet thumping sound, letting out a laugh. Dr. Phil asked Zachary if he laughed when attacking his mom, and the teenager said he did because he thought she deserved it. He said he chose a sledgehammer as the murder weapon because I was worried that I'd miss, and that this tool adding gave him the highest chance of killing her. In another clip of the episode posted to YouTube, Dr. Phil reads out an extract from Zachary's journal. He says, "On 11th August, this has been the next morning, you wrote, I liked Melanie and left Josh alive to suffer. I didn't feel anything when I killed her, even when her blood splattered on my arm and her brain matter was thrown onto my shirt. I didn't feel remorse, hate, or even satisfaction. My only true regret was that I wasn't able to give her a faster death. I didn't want her to suffer." Another extract from Zachary's diary details his experience being in jail for 2 months and hearing his dad talking to him. He also wrote he believed he was a pariah in the jail, calling it home sweet home. The question is Zachary Davis a lost child or pure evil? The justice system and the 12-member jury grappled with the notion that while Zachary Davis had clearly premeditated his mother's murder, it was also apparent that he was deeply unwell. Dr. McGraw tried to show compassion towards the teenager. "When I look in your eyes, I don't see evil, I see lost." Davis' paternal grandmother appealed to his severe mental illness and the lack of help he received. "Every teacher, every guidance counselor should have to stand trial with Zach," Crone said. "Zach is not a monster. He's a child who made a horrible mistake." She believes Melanie failed to get Zachary Davis the help he needed and that Melanie paid for the mistake with her life. Dr. Freeman, the psychiatrist who first diagnosed him, also testified in court that Davis's judgment was driven by his psychosis and that because of his mental illness, could not have possibly premeditated the murders. The jury and judge did not feel the same, however, and Zachary Davis was sentenced to life in prison after a jury deliberated just 3 hours to reach a guilty verdict. A life sentence in Tennessee is a minimum of 60 years with the possibility of parole after 51 years. Zachary Davis will be in his mid-60s by the time he could get out of prison. Whether the murder was cold-blooded or brought on by psychosis, it is regardless a tragic story of a family destroyed,